You might be looking at the title of this video and be like, college football. What is this? Joseph Conlon never talks about college football on the Big Fight Field channel. Well, that's changing this year, boy, because I am so excited for the college football playoff. We are 4 days away from the college football playoff, and this is probably the most I've ever watched college football in one season. It's the most excited I've ever been for college football in one season. This has just been such a joy as a college football fan, in my opinion. My team, the Alabama Crimson Tide, did not make the college football playoff. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But for me, being a college football fan, this has probably been the most excited I've ever been for a college football playoff ever. And this has been going on now since 2014. With the first college football playoff with Oregon and Florida State, Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota going at it at the Rose Bowl with Ohio State and Alabama, and then you get Ohio State and Oregon in the national championship. Ohio State wins its first ever college football national championship. Not first ever, but the first ever college football playoff was won by Ohio State in 2014. And we got from there, and now we are here with the 12-team format. I'm so happy they made this 12-team format, even though you got college football fans, losers on social media complaining about this 12-team playoff format. Here's what I would say. Get the hell out of here. Stop complaining. This is going to be so exciting to watch. It's not the same typical four teams you get every year. The Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Clemsons. Yes, they are all in it besides Alabama. They are all in it this year, but now you have a 12-team field. You have playoff games from December 30th all the way until January 20th. The NFL is happening on December 21st. That is this Saturday. Do you know how exciting it is going to be on Saturday with 3 college football playoff games and 2 NFL football games? That day is going to be unbelievable, but on the couch from 12 o'clock in the afternoon until 12 o'clock at night. So we are going to talk about my predictions for the college football playoff. We are going to do round 1 predictions on Wednesday night here on the Big Fight Field channel, and this is such a relief for me. If I have any new viewers who are college football fans, my team in the NFL is the Miami Dolphins. We have obviously had a horrendous season this year. 6-8, no playoffs. It's bad over here, man. So let's transition over to college football. Let's talk about the kids for a little bit. For about a month or so, we have the first round. We have the quarterfinals. We have the semifinals, the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl. Then we, of course, have the national championship on January 20th in Atlanta. Monday night, January 20th. Going to be a special night. And there's more that I want to talk about than just the college football playoff predictions and all that stuff. This has been a wild college football season. If you had told me at the beginning of the season that SMU was going to be a playoff team, that Arizona State was going to be a playoff team, I would have absolutely laughed in your face, been like, get the hell out of here. Indiana is a team that slides under the radar, in my opinion, but people talking about their schedule and all that, I get it. I get where you're coming from. I think they're a very good team, though. But Arizona State, SMU, nobody had them making the college football playoff in their bingo cards. So good for those programs. Good for Rhett Lashley. Good for Kenny Dillingham. Very happy for those teams right there. But absolutely no one expected them to make the playoff. And I'm going to reflect back to I'm going to reflect back to September 28th. And on September 28th, me and a very good friend of mine was in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We were at College Game Day for Georgia, Alabama. We were tailgating for about 5 hours at the Alabama Georgia game. The energy on that campus that day was something I have never experienced in my entire life. The energy inside Bryant-Denny Stadium at Saban Field for that entire game was something I've never seen in my life. That game that I went to, I've never seen a game that exciting in person in my life. That was the best sporting event I've ever been to in my entire life. And that night, Alabama won 41-34 against the Georgia Bulldogs. And that very next day, Alabama was ranked number 1 in college football. And if you would have told me then that Alabama was going to miss the college football playoff, I'd be like, again, you are insane. You're insane for saying that. But here we are. And nobody has them to blame but Alabama. Alabama has themselves to blame, losing to Vanderbilt, losing to Oklahoma. Even though as an Alabama fan, I hate Tennessee's guts. Losing to them, I guess it's like, okay. It was a fine game. It was a frustrating game. But losing to Tennessee, not the end of the world. Losing to Vanderbilt, losing to Oklahoma. That's why you're not in the college football playoff. You beat one of those teams, you're easily in the college football playoff. It's not even up for a debate. You might have even gotten a home game. I doubt it. You would probably be in Indiana's position going on the road in Notre Dame and South Bend round 1. But losing to Vanderbilt, losing to Oklahoma, that did it to you. And they have nobody to blame but themselves. Jalen Milroe was mid towards the second half of the season. He had one outside of that Georgia game. Right after that Georgia game ended, I'm like, he's the Heisman. He's the top quarterback in the NFL draft. He's absolutely the Heisman. And now, looking back, ever since, he was good versus Missouri. He was lights out against LSU. Mercer, I don't even count because it's Mercer. The rest of the games, though, down the stretch, he shit the bed. And there was a report that came out from an expert, I can't remember his name, but he said Jalen Milroe would absolutely benefit from another year in college. And I agree with him. I think Jalen Milroe needs to stay in Alabama for at least one more season. Jalen Milroe would not probably not be a first rounder in the NFL draft. I think Milroe staying in college for one more year with Alabama is the right thing to do under the new Kalen DeBoer system. But it's crazy to me how the season could change in a snap of a finger. We had teams like Ole Miss, Miami, Alabama, BYU. Most of the season was at the top of the college football world. BYU was a top 10 team at a point in the season, and they've all fallen. And you've got teams like SMU and Arizona State and Clemson who really came on in the second half of the season. So it's been a wild college football season. You've had insane games like Georgia, Alabama. You've had insane upsets like Michigan going to the shoe to beat Ohio State. And it's all led to this. It's all led to the college football playoff. These 12 teams, I do have one issue with it. I will get to that in a little bit. But talking about the Heisman on Saturday night, that'll be our next topic we could talk about, the Heisman. Travis Hunter Ashton Genty, Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward. I don't have a problem with those four being the final Heisman. I think all four of them deserve to be in there. I don't agree with the winner, though. Travis Hunter won the Heisman, and yes, what Travis Hunter has done this year has simply been amazing. It's been great. Playing as many snaps as he does for Colorado on defense at corner and on offense at wide receiver, he is a generational talent. I get it. But what Ashton Genty did for Boise State and what he set the college football world on fire. Everybody was watching Ashton Genty highlights all the time. And he was sensational every week, going 200, 210, 230, 270. He would get 200 rushing yards a game. This year, he alone had 2,497 rushing yards, 29 touchdowns. 29 touchdowns. 30 touchdowns altogether. He had one receiving. So this guy had 30 touchdowns all season. What he did this year, we might never see again. Never. And I believe his performance this season was Heisman worthy. And Travis Hunter is great. He is a generational talent. Whoever gets him in the NFL draft, hopefully it's not the Patriots, hopefully it's not the Jets, but they're going to get a superstar. For sure. But Ashton Genty is a generational talent. And he was robbed of the Heisman last night. And I think many people can agree with me on that one. So, alright. So, let's get into my college football playoff predictions. And first thing I want to address is I'm not doing previews for all these games. If you want to see my previews for the first round of the college football playoff, we're going to preview 4 games in one video. You will see that video Wednesday night. So if you want to see me talk about more in-depth Clemson versus Texas, Tennessee versus Ohio State, SMU versus Penn State, and Indiana versus Notre Dame, if you want to see me go more in-depth with those games, you will tune into the Big Five Field channel Wednesday night. You should. But this is just a prediction show. This is going over my bracket. And the one issue that I do have with it, though, is the way it's formatted. And what am I talking about when it comes to that? Hold on just a second. Okay. Got it. I was just looking for something. Okay. The way it's formatted, I love the 12 team. But my only criticism is conference champions getting an automatic bye. That should not be. Conference champions should not be getting an automatic bye because now you're looking at Boise State and you're looking at Arizona State. They're both automatically in the quarterfinals. And it's like, shit, they're going to be, in those games, it is going to be a double-digit spread. And the team who is coming off the bye, you would think it's favored. Boise State and Arizona State are both going to be double-digit underdogs when we get to the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. That should not be. Conference champions should not get first-round byes. Conference champions should get automatic bids into the college football playoff. You are guaranteed to be in the college football playoff if you win your conference. You should, but you don't get a bye. You're not guaranteed a bye. So, realistically, I'm going to go by the AP rankings. Okay, I'm going to go by the playoff rankings. If I'm saying the way it should be, the first 4 teams that should get a bye are Oregon, Georgia, Texas, and Penn State. Those 4 teams get a bye. They're the best 4 teams in college football. They get a bye to the quarterfinals. Then your first round would be Notre Dame hosting Clemson. That's a very good game. Ohio State would be the 6th seed, and they are hosting Arizona State. They would be double digits. They would be favored by double digits no matter what. No matter. SMU would be going to Tennessee, and Boise State would be going to Indiana. That's a fascinating game, which Boise State could still win. They could win that game. But we have this year and we have next year. Conference champions get automatic buys next year as well. But after next year, that needs to be changed. Enough. Because now, say we get Boise State against Penn State. Penn State's going to be favored by 13.5 points. That should not be the case at all. So let's actually go through the playoff. And I'm just going to go off my phone. I'm going to start at the top. And I'm going to go down below. And again, I'm not giving these games full preview in depth. If you want to see that, tune into the video on Wednesday night. If you want to see my full preview to the quarterfinal games, then tune in to when I preview the quarterfinal games, so on and so forth. So the first game I'll start off with is Clemson, the 12 seed, going to Texas, the 5 seed. What I will say is Clemson is going to play in a very, very hostile environment. Why do I say that? Texas has not had a home game in about over a month. I think the last time Texas played a home game was against Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. And it's been a long time since they've had a home game in front of their home fans. And yes, they're coming off losing the SEC championship. But against SEC teams this year, Clemson is 0-2. Obviously, they got blown out week 1 by the Georgia Bulldogs 34-3. And the final week of the regular season, they lost to South Carolina at home. So they've struggled against SEC teams. And even though they've gotten dominated by the Georgia Bulldogs, they have not gotten dominated by everybody else. How is Clemson's defense going to hold up against Quinn Ewers and the whole passing game? Texas has one of the best offensive lines in the country as well. So, for that game, I will take Texas. I will take Texas to beat Clemson at home, and they will face Arizona State in Atlanta in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Talk about that game a little bit later. Tennessee versus Ohio State. A little bit of a toss-up here. I think the way Tennessee has a very good chance of winning is getting the run game going with Dylan Sampson, because as a freshman quarterback, you do not want to put Nico in high-pressured situations. Nico is very new to this, and this is his first big game. The Georgia game was pretty big too, but this is a lot of pressure on the young kid. I think the way Tennessee's got to win this game is running the football. And Tennessee has one of the best defenses in the country, in college football. But I don't know, man. After Ohio State lost to Michigan, embarrassing fashion, Michigan could not complete a forward pass in that game. They should have blown them out. But they did not. They did not. And now they're playing a really good Tennessee team. And 2 years ago, when they had Hendon Hooker, they were all flashy. They were all quick. Let's get down the field. Let's score. This year's Tennessee team, it's about running the football with Dylan Sampson. Nico capitalize on his opportunities when he gets them and play very good defense. But what's going to turn this game is Nico making a crucial mistake late in the fourth quarter. That's why I have Ohio State winning this game, going to play Oregon in the Rose Bowl. SMU versus Penn State. This is your 12 o'clock kickoff game on Saturday. Penn State's favored by 8.5. A team from Dallas playing in 30-degree weather. I don't like it at all. I don't like this for SMU whatsoever. Good for them that they got in, but that's as far as they're going to get. If they cannot stop Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen, it's going to be a very long day for them. Penn State has a nasty defensive front led by Abdul Carter. They can't run the ball if they get down big, which I do think is going to be the case. Penn State could take a 21-0 lead or a 17-0 lead. And in that case, Kevin Jennings is going to have to be throwing the ball all day. He is very capable of that, but I feel like that would be very much off script for SMU. I just think in a lot of these games, this one specifically, I do think weather plays an impact. Like a team from Dallas going down to 30-degree weather in Happy Valley, it's not a recipe for success. I'll take Penn State in this game. So you're looking at the first three games. I got Texas, Ohio State, Penn State. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's boring. It's all chalk. No upsets. Here's your upset. I have the Indiana Hoosiers beating Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's overrated. Their schedule was very weak this year. Credit to them, they beat Texas A&M earlier in the season. They have not played a tough team since. They played Louisville. Yeah, it was alright. They beat them by a touchdown. But then who was the toughest teams they played after that? Army? Navy? USC with a backup quarterback? Yeah, Notre Dame is good. But their competition has been down here. Below average. And yeah, Indiana's only tough game was against Ohio State, and they lost 38-15. But if you actually watch that game, okay? If you actually watch that game, let me go to that game real quick here on my phone. If you watch that game, how they lost was a punt return touchdown, special teams error. They had, a crucial fumble by the punter at the Indiana 7-yard line. So 2 crucial errors by the special teams that costed them the game. It could have been 7-7 in the third quarter. It was 21-7 because of special teams. The defense played well against Ohio State. Not great, they played well. Curtis Rourke did not play well against Ohio State. But here's the thing. Ohio State has a better defense, in my opinion, than Notre Dame does. Not your opinion, my opinion. I will take Indiana to beat Notre Dame. And I will get more into that on Wednesday night here on the Big Fight Field channel as to why I do think Indiana is going to beat Notre Dame. Okay? Now we get to the second round. Texas, Arizona State. That is New Year's Day. I will be at that game. I will be in Atlanta for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And on New Year's Day, I will be at that Texas-Arizona State game. Who am I cheering for? I love myself a good underdog story. Arizona State has literally been the underdog story in college football this year. Do I think Arizona State is going to beat Texas? Absolutely not. Texas is probably going to win that game by at least 4 touchdowns. But I will be going to cheer for the Sun Devils at the Peach Bowl. Rose Bowl, Ohio State, Oregon. This will be a rematch from Week 7, where Oregon defeated Ohio State after Will Howard slid with no timeouts, and Oregon won that game 32-31, one of the better college football games of the whole season. Does Ohio State get their revenge in this game? It's going to be very close. But I don't have it in me to take Ohio State. But I will tell you this, though. Out of any team that has a path to the championship, the committee gave Oregon the hardest path to win a national championship by far. And spoiler alert, because of that path, I don't think they win the national championship. So I'm just telling you that right now. They will stumble in one of these games, but it will not be against Ohio State. If that is the inevitable Rose Bowl matchup, we will get into that more. Fiesta Bowl, Boise State against Penn State. I feel like I don't have to explain myself on this much. If Penn State just stops Ashton Jeanty, they're gonna win this game by 4 touchdowns. This game will not be close, and Penn State will beat the brakes off of Boise State. I will take Penn State to go to the semifinals, and then Indiana and Georgia. Even with Georgia having a backup quarterback, I think this defense would give Curtis Work looks that he's never seen before. They would confuse him. Indiana's going to have a bad day on offense. And even if Georgia scores 24, 27 points, they'll win that game against Indiana. So I got Georgia. And I got, of course, a semifinal that a lot of people are expecting. Texas versus Oregon. Penn State versus Georgia. Shocker. I just said earlier, they're the best 4 teams in college football. They are the best 4 teams in college football. A lot of people have Oregon against Georgia in the national championship. I do not. I have Texas beating Oregon in the Cotton Bowl. I told you, Oregon has a hard path to get to the national championship with their schedule, their potential schedule. They're going to stumble. They stumble against Texas. Texas will play Georgia after Georgia beats Penn State in the Orange Bowl, which sets up round 3 of Georgia-Texas. This time, Georgia's the home team. And it's in Atlanta again. This game will happen in Atlanta again. That is my prediction. These are probably program-built, the 2 best programs in college football. And that's probably what means most this time of year. And you look at this and it's like, oh my God. SEC bias, baby. 2 SEC teams in the national championship. What is this guy thinking about? It's just what I think is going to happen. I just think the 2 SEC teams are the best programs in college football. Not teams, programs, cultures, environments in college football. We get to Texas. We get to Georgia. It's third time a charm for Texas. They get dominated at their home turf, 30-15. They lose in the SEC championship to a backup quarterback, 22-19. Do they get it done? No. I have Georgia beating Texas for a third time this year and winning the national championship. Why do I have Georgia winning the national championship? Because with a backup quarterback, they have the best roster in college football. They have the best coach in college football. If any coach can guide their team starting a backup quarterback because of injury to a national championship, I hate to say it, it's probably Kirby Smart. If there's any coach that I would trust, it is probably Kirby Smart. So, that's my prediction. National championship, Georgia hoists up the national championship trophy after they beat the Texas Longhorns. So, those are my college football playoff predictions. We are going to get more into the first round matchups on Wednesday night. Again, the schedule, Friday night, the first college playoff game, Indiana versus Notre Dame. I want to do reactions to these, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do them. I don't know if I'm just going to do a reaction video on Friday night for the Indiana Notre Dame game, or if I'm going to react to all 4 games on Saturday night. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I got to figure that out. But, yeah. And I'm making my trip to Atlanta for the Peach Bowl. So that is very exciting. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. Comment down below. Who do you think is winning the national championship this year in the college football playoff? Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. And follow me on Twitter. Conlon_Joseph. I will be live tweeting during all these great games. Friday, Saturday, quarterfinal games. You fucking know it, baby. I will see you Wednesday night. Have a good one. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy. And I'm out. Peace.